Where are the papers? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play games with me! Your report is unacceptable. The breach is critical. Sir, we are investigating. The cause is unknown. Find it immediately.
Late 1944. Patton's Third Army is deep in enemy territory, planning their next major offensive. And George Patton just discovered that someone in his own headquarters has been feeding Hitler every move he's planning to make. A spy in his inner circle, selling American soldiers' lives to the Nazis. When Patton found out who it was, he didn't call military police. He didn't file a report. He didn't follow protocol. What he did instead became one of the most controversial moments of his entire career and revealed exactly why Patton was the general Hitler feared most. This is the story of how Patton caught a traitor red-handed and delivered justice in the most Patton way possible.
Soldiers advance that days! All be down! Move out! Let's go! Sir, we must move now. The enemy is advancing. Hold your position. We wait for orders. But sir, we'll be overrun. That's an order. Stand down.
Late evening, Third Army headquarters. Most of the staff has gone to sleep. The building is quiet, except for the night watch and a few officers working late on planning documents. Patton has a habit that drives his staff crazy. He prowls the headquarters at odd hours, checking on operations, reviewing plans, making sure everything is running smoothly. Some nights he doesn't sleep at all, just walks the corridors, thinking about the next move against the Germans. On this particular night, Patton notices a light on in one of the document rooms, a secured area where classified operational plans are stored. It's past midnight. No one should be in there without authorization. Patton approaches silently. Years of military training have taught him how to move quietly when necessary. He peers through the small window in the door, and what he sees makes his blood run cold.
General, you must listen to me. I am listening. Speak plainly. The enemy knows our plans. We must act now. How?
A sergeant, one of the clerical staff who'd been with headquarters for months, is photographing documents. He's got a small camera, methodically taking pictures of operational plans, troop movements, supply routes, everything the Germans would need to anticipate Third Army's next moves. The sergeant is so focused on his work that he doesn't notice Patton watching, doesn't hear the door open, doesn't realize he's been caught until Patton's voice cuts through the silence like a knife. "What the hell do you think you're doing, soldier?" The sergeant spins around, camera in hand, caught absolutely red-handed. His face goes white. The camera falls from his trembling fingers and clatters on the floor. For a moment, neither man moves. Then Patton steps into the room and closes the door behind him. "I asked you a question, Sergeant." The sergeant stammers something about working late, about needing copies for filing, about having authorization. All lies, and both men know it. Patton looks at the documents spread across the table, the camera on the floor, the sergeant's guilty, terrified expression. "Guard," Patton calls out. 2 MPs appear within seconds. "Arrest this man and bring him to my office, now." The sergeant wasn't some planted enemy agent. He was an American, born and raised in the Midwest, enlisted in the U.S. Army after Pearl Harbor, served competently for years, working his way into a position of trust at Third Army headquarters. He'd performed his duties well, never raised suspicions. By all accounts, he was exactly what he appeared to be, a loyal American soldier serving his country. Except he wasn't. As the CIC, Counterintelligence Corps, would later discover through interrogation and investigation, German intelligence had approached him months earlier through intermediaries. They offered him cash, substantial amounts by a sergeant's standards, for information about Third Army operations, and he, seeing an opportunity for personal gain, said yes. He rationalized it, told himself the information he was passing wasn't that important, convinced himself he was just making some extra money on the side, that no one would really get hurt. But people were getting hurt. American soldiers were dying because German forces knew where to position their defenses, when to expect attacks, which routes the Americans would use. Every ambush that succeeded because the Germans had advance warning, every artillery barrage that hit American positions with suspicious accuracy, every defensive position that seemed impossibly well prepared. This sergeant's information was getting American soldiers killed. Men who trusted him, men who wore the same uniform, brothers in arms dying because one man wanted extra cash. The night Patton caught him, the sergeant had been photographing plans for a major offensive. If those documents had reached German intelligence, hundreds, possibly thousands of American soldiers would have walked into a prepared killing zone. Patton had caught him just in time, but the damage already done was incalculable. Months of stolen secrets, months of American blood spilled because of this traitor's greed. And when Patton fully understood the scope of the betrayal, when he realized how many of his men had died because of this one soldier, something inside him snapped. George Patton was a man who worshipped loyalty, who believed that soldiers formed a sacred brotherhood, who saw betrayal as the ultimate sin. When the MPs brought the sergeant to Patton's office, witnesses said Patton's face went white, not red with anger, white. Cold rage. The evidence was already laid out on Patton's desk. The camera, the photographs that had been in it, copies of documents the sergeant had previously stolen, recovered from his quarters during a quick search. Patton dismissed everyone from the room except for 2 MPs and his chief of staff. What happened in the next 10 minutes has been reconstructed from various accounts, and it's absolutely chilling. Patton didn't yell, he didn't scream, he spoke in a low, controlled voice that was somehow more terrifying than any outburst. "You know what you've done," Patton said. It wasn't a question. The sergeant tried to deny it at first, said there must be some mistake, that he was just making copies for filing, that he had authorization. Patton picked up one of the photographs. "This is a classified operational plan. You were photographing it at midnight in a locked room. Stop insulting my intelligence." The sergeant's denials crumbled. He started making excuses, said he needed the money, that he didn't think the information was that valuable, that he never meant for anyone to get hurt. This was the worst thing he could have said to George Patton. "You never meant?" Patton's voice rose for the first time. "Do you know how many of my men are dead because of you? Do you have any idea how many ambushes succeeded, how many positions got overrun, how many soldiers died because the Germans knew exactly where we'd be?" The sergeant had no answer. He just stood there, shaking. Then Patton did something that shocked everyone in the room. He took off his general's stars, set them on the desk, and told the MPs to leave the room. What happened next has been debated by historians for decades. According to multiple witnesses, Patton gave the sergeant a choice. "You have 2 options," Patton allegedly said. "Option 1, I call the MPs back in, you face a court-martial, and you spend the rest of your miserable life in a military prison as a known traitor. Your family lives with that shame forever. Everyone you've ever known will spit on your name." The sergeant, shaking, asked what the second option was. "You take this." Patton placed his service pistol on the desk. "You walk into that bathroom and you do the honorable thing for the first time in your worthless life. We'll call it combat stress, an accident. Your family never has to know what you really were." The room went silent. This was Patton offering a traitor the option of suicide rather than face justice. It was completely outside military protocol. It was probably illegal, and it was absolutely in character for George Patton. The sergeant stared at the gun, then at Patton, then back at the gun. According to the accounts, he reached for the pistol with a trembling hand. Patton stopped him. "Actually, I changed my mind." Patton pulled the gun back. "You don't deserve an honorable way out. You don't deserve a clean death. You're going to face exactly what you deserve. You're going to rot in prison, knowing that every man in this army knows you're a traitor." Patton called the MPs back in and had the sergeant taken into custody. But the message was clear. Patton wanted him to understand exactly how contemptible his betrayal was, wanted him to face the choice between a coward's death and a traitor's life. It was brutal, it was personal, and it was pure Patton. The sergeant's arrest sent shockwaves through 3rd Army headquarters. A spy caught red-handed by Patton himself. Patton ordered an immediate security review. Every soldier with access to classified information was investigated. Document procedures were overhauled, new protocols established for after-hours access. But Patton also used it as a teaching moment. He gathered his officers and told them what happened. He didn't hide it. "I caught one of our own photographing operational plans at midnight," Patton told them, "selling secrets to the Germans for cash, and American soldiers died because of it." Then Patton made a promise his officers absolutely believed. "If I ever find another traitor in this command, I won't wait for procedures. I'll handle it myself and face whatever comes after." The story spread through 3rd Army like wildfire. The sergeant was court-martialed. The trial was kept quiet. The military didn't want to publicize that a spy had penetrated so deeply. He was convicted of treason, espionage, and providing aid to the enemy. The sentence? Life in prison. Patton attended the sentencing. When it was read, he stood, looked directly at the traitor, and walked out without a word. This incident reveals something crucial about Patton's leadership. He understood that war isn't just tactics and strategy. It's about trust, about the bond between soldiers who depend on each other for survival. When this sergeant betrayed that trust, he violated the sacred compact that held the military structure together, and Patton couldn't tolerate that. This created a command culture of intense loyalty. Patton's men would follow him anywhere because they trusted him completely. German intelligence learned about the spy's capture almost immediately, and they were terrified. This sergeant had been one of their best assets. His information had been gold, detailed, accurate, timely. But what really scared them was how he'd been caught and Patton's reaction. The Germans considered Patton the most dangerous Allied general, the one who understood aggressive warfare, who could match their best commanders. When they learned Patton himself had caught the spy red-handed, that he'd personally confronted him, that he'd promised to personally handle any other traitor, German intelligence realized something. Patton wasn't just angry, he was hunting. German intelligence immediately pulled back other assets connected to 3rd Army. They burned communications channels. They went defensive. There are German intelligence reports from this period, declassified decades later, that specifically warn agents to avoid 3rd Army operations. One report allegedly stated, "General Patton has made counterintelligence a command priority. He personally patrols headquarters at irregular hours. Recommend extreme caution in any 3rd Army targeting." Patton had turned the tables. By catching one spy red-handed and dealing with him brutally, he'd scared German intelligence away from his entire command. After the capture, Patton changed his routine. He made irregular inspections at all hours. He personally checked secure areas. He reviewed document access. His officers joked, nervously, that you never knew when Patton might appear at 2 a.m. But it worked. Intelligence leaks from 3rd Army dropped to almost zero. The spy's capture transformed how 3rd Army handled security entirely. Patton's handling of the case was controversial. Senior commanders questioned his methods. You can't offer a prisoner a gun and suggest suicide. You can't bypass procedures because you're angry. There were reports filed, questions asked, concerns raised. Patton's response was characteristically blunt. "I caught a traitor red-handed trying to get my men killed. I dealt with it. If that's a problem, I'll deal with the consequences." The brass couldn't argue with the results. Security improved dramatically. Other commands adopted his procedures. But had Patton crossed a line? From a procedural standpoint, absolutely. What he did was outside protocol, possibly illegal. From a military effectiveness standpoint, he'd caught a critical threat, eliminated it, and prevented future breaches. Patton believed in old-fashioned honor. Traitors forfeited their rights to gentle treatment. They deserved immediate, harsh justice. This incident reveals who Patton really was, a man who operated on personal codes of honor that were almost medieval in their intensity. Patton believed in loyalty above everything. He would forgive mistakes. He would tolerate conflicts, but betrayal, unforgivable. This is why Patton was so effective. His troops knew that if they were loyal, Patton would move mountains for them. But betrayal would bring down his personal wrath. The night he caught that sergeant, Patton sent a message: "I'm watching, I'm protecting you, and anyone who tries to harm this brotherhood answers to me personally." The traitor served decades in military prison, eventually died there, forgotten. His family never recovered from the shame. Patton never spoke publicly about the case again, but those who knew him said he carried it with him. And Patton kept his promise. For the rest of the war, he personally oversaw counterintelligence. He made those irregular patrols. He made security a personal priority, and no other major breach occurred in Third Army. The story of how Patton caught Hitler's spy red-handed reveals something essential about wartime leadership, about loyalty and betrayal. Patton didn't just catch a spy. He sent a message: "Betray this command, and you face me personally." Was it brutal? Absolutely. Was it outside protocol? Without question. Was it effective? The evidence speaks for itself. This is why Hitler feared Patton more than any other Allied general. Not just his tactical brilliance, but because Patton was willing to do whatever it took, including personally confronting traitors, to protect his men. Sometimes the most effective leaders aren't the ones who follow all the rules. They're the ones who understand when protecting their men matters more than procedure. Patton understood that, and one American soldier who sold out his brothers learned it the hard way. If you found this fascinating, hit that subscribe button and comment below. Do you think Patton crossed a line, or was his brutal approach exactly what the situation required? Thanks for watching.